Happy Thursday. I'm thrilled to have you here with me. And I am actually kind of excited about hearing your thoughts about what's on my mind today. So, all right, you know what? Just like I put in the description, today I was listening to something Michael Neal was talking about, and I have a friend who was talking about Sid banks. And I was also talking to yet another friend about, um, what he was doing. Brilliant, guy. Just love him, and so skilled, so experienced in so many different things. And we often exchange thoughts about what's going on in our worlds. What are we working on? What are we excited about? What are some of the obstacles or little, stumbles that are coming along the way? And how can both of us use them as little platforms to kind of just launch, whatever it is that we're doing in the pursuit of our dreams and connecting with our, whatever brings us closer to the North Stars that we always have, that always keep evolving and growing with us. So they're just a little bit out of reach all the time. But yeah, it's like, it's, yeah, I have to say I'm really, really blessed in the friends that I have and the people that are in my life and in all the things that I get excited about learning from, learning with, and just adding to this rich thing called life that I'm living. So it isn't any surprise to you that when I say that these days things are a little bit extra packed. You've been with me on this journey where, with being with my parents, being with my sibling, with all like Matt, Zishan, Rahman, Hira, like all Vicky, Dan, like Kurt, Bill, Larissa, oh my gosh, like all of you guys, Tracy, amazing people who are in my life. I can keep going on and on and on, and we'd run out of time and then some, and we'd be going on to next week. Like I feel like I have that many people I love and who love me in my life. I was just helping another friend of mine, Chris Benetti. If you're listening, love you. But Chris is testing yet another iteration of what he's adding to, like, this guy. He's so amazing in tech and what. Anyway, I digress. The point that I'm trying to make is, in having these people in my life, there are always thoughts that spark up. And in interacting with my clients, even when I'm, serving as a mentor or a consultant or a coach, a word that I have or a title that I have fought for long and hard. But then I started diving into what does it really mean to be a coach to somebody, right? So anyway, as I'm talking to people, as I'm reading books, as I'm listening to things that come my way, it's such a rich breeding ground for thoughts, right? And ideas and creativity. So I get excited about it. As you can probably tell, I don't think I've ever really grown up. And I don't ever want to lose those eyes of wonder, right? Because it is easy for me to get lost in wonder when I'm like, oh, I didn't see it that way. And what does that mean? What does that mean for me? What does it mean for my clients? What does it mean for people who are my friends and who are amazing entrepreneurs, or people who are helping other entrepreneurs, right? There's a richness in just the thought leading to another thought. And yet, as my days are full of things that are tied to the people I love, they don't really feel like grind, because it isn't grinding when the things you're doing are energizing you. But that doesn't mean that certain days don't get so packed that you do feel the weight of them, or certain things that you're going with, there are other people tied to it as you're trying to put things in place, that it doesn't drain your energy, and then you have to find the place to recharge yourself, right? So Anyway, the last couple of days were a little bit extra packed. I've noticed that Wednesdays and Thursdays generally for me are really back to back in one way or another, right? So as I was putting some things in place for my dad's health, and my mom wasn't feeling super amazing because I think she's worried about my dad, there were times when I was like, oh, okay, I don't feel like I'm actually making as much headway on what I consider to be things I should be focusing on. And as I was listening to my friend, and which friend? Because I talked about a few. But as I was talking to this one friend, who, as I was saying, we kind of just match thoughts and ideas sometime. And I was talking about complexity versus simplicity. And I was saying, he was describing to me what is something he is going to, he had written something to me, and he had talked about, as I alter course or as I look at a new direction. And I was curious about what does that mean, because I know that he's been investing a lot of energy in certain things, testing them out to see how they fit his life, how they fit his family, whether they bring more, value to how he's doing things, or if they are more of a distraction, right? So when he wrote to me asking me my thoughts on some of the questions that he had posed, it naturally led to this curiosity I had going, what new direction, and why a new direction? Because I thought that the direction you were pursuing was where you were comfortable with. And yet, even as I said that, I knew that when he was talking about it previously, there was a gap. And one of my gifts is looking and just seeing those gaps, right? So I had felt this gap, and I was curious, is that something that you are now stepping into and seeing what was missing, and where it is that you really need to kind of maneuver or pivot to, right? So as he was talking, and he was talking about the structure, the framework, this thing that he wanted to bring into this world, through a business venture, it brought to my mind that, okay, I'm hearing complexity. It can be simpler than that. Which led me to think about my own experiences. I was kind of like, oh, I'm not getting to the things I really want to. Which led me to think, do I have too much on my plate? Hey, Larissa, so great to have you. It always makes me so happy when you're with me. And same thing, when I have you and Vicky and Robin and Matt and Zishan and everybody to share thoughts with, it's so amazing, and I truly feel so blessed and lucky to have you guys with me. So yeah, this is where I was like, okay, I'm hearing complexity even in my own life, as I'm telling you, my friend, that I'm seeing and I'm hearing complexity, because I thought, if it's so busy, and yes, I know that I'm fitting some extra things, and especially when you are designing something and bringing it into the world, it takes more time of yours anyway. But I also know what that feels like, because there's the energy of creation, there's the excitement, there is, in my case, almost an obsession with it, because doesn't matter what I'm doing, I just end up having part of my brain occupied, with that. And I deliberately try to sometimes breathe and distance just so I can see what I'm not seeing. But in this particular case, it wasn't feeling that same space. It was feeling more of a drain at the end of the day, going, I didn't get to that. And that made me think, do I have the right things on my plate? And when I'm feeling like this pressure and this frustration and this expectation unmet. And by the way, with personalities like mine, and I know some of you guys also share those traits, when you have the analytical side, when you have the conscious side, and when you have it matched with the quick trigger action taking side, it's not a comfortable place to be when you think you're not getting to the things that are really important for you professionally and what you said you wanted to create, even if you said it to nobody else but just yourself. It's a commitment. And when you're not showing up, it's like, oh, it's not a good place at all to be. And I'm like, okay, do I have the right things on my plate? Do I have too many things on my plate? Because the things that are attached to the people I love, a lot of those at the moment, I'm not able to take off my plate and delegate. I'm hoping to get to the place that I'm trying to put supports in place so that I get to be in that place that I can do that, but I'm not there right now. And it's not like I can say, hey, Dad, by the way, so not a convenient time right now. Let's do that another time, right? So how do I do this? And that got me to also look at and sit with my thoughts, but stepping behind the thoughts and in some way out of the thoughts to just listen to what myself was telling me, that conscious part of me that has always been and will always be, regardless of whether I'm here on this earth or not. That particular part, you know what I'm talking about, that inner self, that inner wisdom, that knowledge that just talks to you, brings new thoughts. It's like ever flowing fountain of creativity. And it's always talking to us, but we're not always in the space to listen. Right? So that's where I was wondering, am I in the space to listen? Because the new thoughts may be coming. They may be telling me the answers to all the things that I'm asking, but am I in the space to listen? And that brought this thought about the projector, the film, and the screen. And I thought to myself, okay, so what's the projector? What's the projector and what is it that it's playing? What's the film that's playing? And what's the screen that I'm using to watch it, right? And how many times do we fall prey to this, that the whether it, you call it the inner critic, whether you just call it your analytical mind running around and trying to make sense of things, whatever you call it, but there are all these thoughts, some you're aware of, some you're not even aware of, but some that are nagging at you even as you're trying to do things that feel like the things you need to do. And how many times do we let that become the distraction that pulls us away from what we really need to make space for? And I know that in so many sages, so many wise people throughout time have talked about it. Some have called it the observer, some have called it, different names, but it's literally when you distance yourself from those critical, like whether critical or not, the thoughts that are just forever flowing, and make space to just observe, let it be, know that it's okay to let it be, even when things feel like they're not going the way you want. And when you become okay with reality as is, and this is my wise friend Demi, she was talking about it a couple of days ago. Actually, it was yesterday. It sounds like longer than that, but it was just yesterday. She was talking about it and she said accepting reality, and I was like, what do you mean by accepting reality? I don't fool myself. I don't deceive myself as to what the reality is. So what does that mean? But reality in itself, even and especially perhaps for us as entrepreneurs and as human beings, period, can be different depending on the lenses, the filters we're using to see it, to perceive it, to make it what it is, the frame around it, right? So it was because I was looking at it and I was trying to distance myself. So I become that observer. I pay a little bit better attention. I listen better. And I become aware of the distinction of the projector, the film, and the screen. The space it automatically creates around me then allows me to listen to new thoughts, new ideas. My mind, my consciousness, and my thoughts. Or perhaps I should say my mind, my thoughts, and my consciousness then create the reality that serves me best and is not something that not something that I am imposing because of my premises and my preconceptions, but what really is. And being okay with it and allowing creativity to bring me to what I need to do in order and how I need to see, who I need to be, what I need to do to get to where I want. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go to comments because I'm super excited about what you guys think about this. Oh, Larissa, thank you. Thank you. Yes, ditto. Absolutely. And okay, all their sides need to function in harmony, supporting each other rather than compensate one another. Ooh, beautifully said. Beautifully said. Supporting each other rather than either compensating for one another or being in conflict with one another, right? Because the analytical sides of mine, it's not that, I can't say that it hasn't brought me benefits. It does. It's just that there is a place for it. And the conscious side of me steps in and embraces what the analytical side of me has looked at and knows whether or not it's in alignment or not, right? And the action taker side of me, that's really fast. Like it's like, okay, well, let's go. We have a thought. Let's go. It then comes in and the other sides are telling me, yeah, this action is in alignment. Let's go. Let's go test it out. And you drop your mind and seat with the you that is essence. Yeah, and it's the simplest thing, and yet sometimes it's not the easiest thing, right? But as you let yourself drop into that place, it becomes easier and easier and more natural. And then you're like, what was that all about? But it's coming to you, it's being with you, it's just letting it be. That is the best way I can describe it at the moment. And Matt, yeah, it's as I said, it's like the more you sit with it and the more you let what is flow to you, and it sounds woo-woo, and especially when you are like in business and comfortable with numbers and you're looking at hard metrics and very measurable things, it sounds like, what do you mean? But you can't, at least to me, it's something that is so complementary and goes hand in hand, that I wouldn't ever recommend anybody in business to not include this side of you, right? Oh, there you go. Larissa and Matt, you need to talk. We should have, you know what? Let's arrange for a time and why don't we talk about this? Because this would be such a fun discussion, and it would be so fun to just have you guys talk, like we all just share our thoughts, not just in typing it, but we actually talk with the spoken words. When one compensates the other, it creates conflict. 100%, 100%. Beautifully put. And Matt, I'm seeing how much around is distraction, how to let some of the distractions go when they seem so important. I guess I just have to do it. Well, again, tell me, in just saying that, did it create an expectation and some pressure to solve that, right? And just even saying, I just have to do it. Tell me if this makes it a little bit simpler. When there are all kinds of distractions around you, creating that space for your inner self, just a moment of quiet, bringing some breath, some oxygen into the space, letting the peace of what is flow to you, through you, and connect you with everything that's around you, brings a sense of alignment with it, right? And for me, it's been, I have started to, and by no means I'm an expert at this, because this is a thing on the go, right? Some days it's like, oh my gosh, I'm reacting, and I'm feeling the drain. Because when you're reacting to whatever is being thrown at you, okay, this call is coming, like in my case, I have to take this client call, I have this thing that I'm doing because I'm adding to my skills, and this is a course that I'm taking, or like a certification that I'm pursuing. This is the call from the hospital. Oh wait, I haven't done these calls, and these are for like whomever, right? But the whole thing is that when one after the other is coming at you, sometimes you're like, okay, I am not at all, I'm not at all creating this space for me to even think. I'm literally reacting, which means that I'm getting pulled in multiple directions. No kidding, I'm feeling drained. No kidding, I feel like my energy just got sucked right out of me, and I cannot handle one more call. I don't care if it's the pharmacy calling, which is not true actually, because then the flipping pharmacy will call and I will pick it up anyway. But the point is that you feel the drain because you're reacting and you're getting pulled in multiple directions. But Matt, I think you had shared an experience with me, right? Where you had just got off this call, everything had gone amazingly well, but you were on to the next thing, right? And then even in that moment, you kind of just stopped and realized that you were at such a high, but the next thing that hit you, if you hadn't taken a moment to acknowledge, become aware of, and celebrate the thing that had gone well, why you were at such a amped up state. The next thing, if it wasn't in that, hey, things are going well kind of frequency, it would, you mentioned that it would have just flipped the frequency to a negative one, drained you, because we don't stop to acknowledge when things are going right and what is there to celebrate and what do we need to do more of, right? But now that you know what that felt like and the space that you created, perhaps that is the lens that you can use to see what is feeling in alignment and whether that thing is indeed a distraction, or when you have that North Star as to what you're working towards, is it bringing you closer to it, right? So try it and tell me, what do you think? And, lives and situation around you is not your business. What is your business is your life and the connection to your essence. By doing your personal process, you're contributing to that distorted outside in a much greater way than to worry about. So connecting to your essence, that is what I love that feeling, by the way, right? When everything seems to be like too much, right? All this pressure around it. And then the fog enters, right? Because the doubts enter about whether you're even, like, what's my next step? What am I doing? Should I be doing this for my business? Should I be doing this for my life? And frankly speaking, there is a lot these days that's around us. And I find that when I feel the division, when I see the division, when I see the forces that divide people, that's not my happy space. So, and it's also because I like, I like learning from things that have happened before, right? I like to bring them in. And having lived in so many places in the world, it automatically brings up certain warning signs for me, like going, hey, we need to be paying attention. But especially when I'm feeling that space, it's connecting to that essence that lets me be okay, knowing that no matter what happens, things will be okay as long as I take responsibility for who I am being, what I am bringing into this world, what I'm checking and using as my filters, and what I'm committed to. So this is what I wanted to bring to our discussion today, and share with you. Okay, I have to show this just because all these hearts made me feel so happy just even looking at that. So I'm not sure what specifically the great idea was, but there's so many great ideas that we have exchanged today just in this brief discussion with each other. So I cannot wait to dive deeper into it, maybe even as a panel. So I'm going to cook something up so we can do that. In the meantime, check this out. This is exactly the inner work to hold unity in the face of division and love what is not lovable. I said to somebody just the other day that I keep on having to come back to what I know is fact, what is unalterable, right? And that is the foundation, and my foundation doesn't matter if it's personal life, business life, whatever it is. My foundation is always love. Despite whatever else might change, that doesn't change. And because of that, I find that I always find my center. I always find the space to be, and I figure out what's the right next step that I need to take. Thank you for sharing your Thursday evening, and Larissa, in your case, your Friday morning with me. It was so amazing to hear your thoughts, exchange ideas, and share your company. So, hey, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your week. And here is some music to wrap up our evening. Cheers!